Good morning. I'm Ken Tanabe, and I have the pleasure to serve as the president of the Society of Surgical Oncology. This morning, I have with me Dr. Kelly Hunt, who needs no introduction, past president of the Society of Surgical Oncology and currently chair of our nominating committee. Nominating committee does a lot of important work for the SSO. I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk with Dr. Hunt and learn a little bit more about what she does with the nominating committee. So, Dr. Hunt, I know that you've been a little bit under the weather. I really appreciate you taking the time out to chat with us this morning. Maybe I can get started by asking, how did you first get involved in SSO leadership?
I've been a member of the SSO since I was a fellow, and, presenting at the meeting annually. Just really got excited about the Society of Surgical Oncology in terms of all the activities and beyond the annual meeting. And so applied to be a member of the what we used to call the Executive Council and now the Board of Directors, and was selected as one of the board of directors after trying a couple times. I didn't make it the first time, but after trying a couple of times was selected to be on the board and really got to know more about the organization through all of those activities and through committees, working on many different committees in the SSO, and then also getting involved with some of the other activities with other societies and representing SSO in that venue. In those venues, I got then elected to the board again and was selected as for secretary, which then, of course, led up to the position of president of SSO. So I've served in many, many different roles throughout the years, but it's great organization, and I'm happy to serve in the current role as nominating committee chair.
Oh, that's terrific. So, in other words, A, you started early, right out of fellowship. B is something that really excited you, and you really wanted to contribute your time and expertise to it. Third, you were persistent in recognizing that sometimes the position goes to other people, and there are a lot of talented people. But I guess when you're really passionate about something, you stick to it. And I think the SSO is really fortunate that you did stick with it, and that we benefited from your help. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, one of the important responsibilities of the nominating committee is to select the recipient of the Distinguished Service Award. Can you explain for our membership a bit about this important award and how the awardee is selected?
Distinguished Service Award used to be called the Heritage Award, and it was the change to the Charles M. Balch Distinguished Service Award in 2018 to recognize Dr. Charles Balch, who, of course, has contributed in many ways to the SSO for over 30 years, including serving as president in 1991. So the Heritage Award was the original award and selected many individuals that had provided service to the SSO throughout their careers. And in many cases, this was prior presidents. But I think the Distinguished Service Award is intended to recognize individuals beyond those who serve in leadership, like what you're doing or what I've done as president. And so there are a number of criteria that are used for selection. Number one is through service to the SSO, and that can be in many different forms through committee service, through education, program development, and also other opportunities such as advocacy. So I think that many of the people who are nominated for this award are leaders in the field of surgical oncology that we all recognize their names, and they have many achievements. Sometimes that might be impactful research or other advancements in basic science or other areas of cancer research, but also those that are dedicated to clinical cancer care and developing guidelines, national, global guidelines, impacting the reduction of cancer burden beyond the US, but globally. SSO is a global society. So in some cases, this is individuals who are developing healthcare policy nationally and internationally as well.
Wow, that's interesting. I would imagine that the deliberations within the committee about the awardee here must be quite interesting. It sounds like it's pretty wide ranging. Could be a SSO member who's a basic scientist, or it could be someone who is a non-physician lay individual who's contributed significantly to the society. And actually, when we look back at our previous recipients, we see a whole spectrum of individuals who've been all fantastic, but it must make for really interesting discussions and debate within the committee. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the nominees, we solicit nominees from the board of directors and of course from the members of the nominating committee. And then we also ask all of the committee chairs of the SSO to submit the names of individuals that they feel would be good candidates for this award. And so once we get all of the candidates, of course, we review all of their accomplishments. That is a difficult task in and of itself because these are such accomplished individuals who contributed so much. So we review those candidates and we try to rank, which is challenging, but try to rank them and then submit the candidate to the board and of course the executive committee of the SSO for approval.
And I'm sure it's not unusual that at the end of those deliberations, everyone thinks to themselves, gee, it's really too bad that we can only provide the award to one individual, because I think there are 3 people or 4 people or 5 people here that we'd really like to give the award to.
That's right. And I think that's why the committee is so important, because the committee is made up of individuals from the US, but also globally. We do accept international candidates as well. And so I think we want to hear from everyone on the committee in terms of how they feel that this individual is distinguished beyond all those other deserving individuals.
And in terms of, you started out by explaining the purpose of the award and who are good candidates. I think we have all of that online on our website, and so we should, for those
Right.
who are interested and feel that there's someone who might be a candidate for this, taking a look at that first would be a good starting place. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. All of the information is available on the website.
Great, great. Another important responsibility of the nominating committee is to determine finalists on the ballot for elected positions. And so perhaps you can share with us a bit about the timeline for members to nominate themselves or others for open election positions and what that process looks like.
Each year, there are different positions on the board of directors and among the SSO leadership positions that we will solicit nomination for. And so individuals can self nominate or someone can nominate them. And then if they are nominated by someone else, they still have to complete an online form that basically asks about their why they want to be part of SSO leadership and what their service to the SSO has been previously and how they feel they can contribute going forward. So this year we actually have the positions that will be open for nomination are the vice president position. There will be 2 board of director positions, 1 international position, and then 1 director at large position that will be voted on by the SSO membership. And the timeline, again, this is all on the website, but the timeline begins in June. So June 15th is when nominations will open, and then they'll close on July 8th. So that does give people a few weeks to consider their uh, interest in applying for these different positions. And I think it's important that when people fill out that online application, that you really do take some time to say why it is that you're interested in being part of SSO leadership and what you think you can contribute, because the nominating committee does review all of those, and we know that the SSO has a large membership with a lot of talent out there. And so we're looking for people who really want to devote their time, but it does take quite a bit of time to participate in these different activities. So we really want for individuals to tell us why they're interested, and do they have the time to devote to the SSO.
And so I would imagine that in many cases, it comes down to having a relatively long track record of good, helpful, productive service to the SSO. Is that right?
Yeah, that's something that we always look for, is what you've contributed beyond your attendance at the annual meeting. Of course, that's a very important part of SSO membership as well, where we all come together. And the annual meeting is, of course, the highlight of the year. But there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, a lot of committee work, a lot of task force work. We do look for volunteers, and we're fortunate that every year when the SSO staff sends out a request for volunteers, that we get hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. And it's so we have a big pool to work with. But in terms of SSO leadership positions, that's on top of what you've already done as a volunteer to the SSO.
Yeah. And I guess what you mentioned earlier in the conversation, that, for example, a couple of times trying is sometimes necessary to make it through, if not more than a couple of times. And so, should you not be selected by the nominating committee, in recognition that there are a lot of qualified, talented, interested individuals, don't get too bummed out. Keep your head high and continue to help the SSO, and there'll be another ballot around the corner the following year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I think people should not get discouraged if they don't get it the first time. And in terms of volunteering for different committee activities and task forces and so on, that is something that also people don't always get their first choice the first time. And some of us have to do service on committees that maybe we thought we weren't as interested in. But I know from experience that serving on these different committees, some of them governance related, that I didn't think that I had any interest in, but I always learn a lot from those. And plus, meeting people that I would not have met otherwise, because the committees are generally folks from many different disease sites and different institutions and global partners as well. So it's really great to interact with all of these different individuals and learn from them.
Oh, that is so important. We were having a conversation last night at one of the committee meetings that one of the wonderful benefits of SSO membership are the networks that are developed. And through volunteering for committees, you're absolutely right, a new network, and you meet new people and open up new connections and develop lifelong relationships. That is so true. So I guess we covered this, but I did have written down, it's a bit of a difficult question, but what advice would you give to a member who wants to be more involved in SSO leadership?
One of the first things that I did was, once I really decided that I wanted to spend more time with the organization and devote more time toward the leadership, I went to a couple of the people. I was very upfront with them and said I would love to get more involved, and they individually gave me ideas about things that I could do to get more involved. And the people who not just show up to the committees, but the people who do the work on the committees get recognized. And then I think that's where we really want people to volunteer for the committees and task forces and other things, but to also really participate and contribute to those efforts. And I think that gets recognized. And again, like we said, it might not be recognized the first time you apply, but if you continue to do the work and show up and let people know your interests. Sometimes we don't tell people that we're interested in something, and they might not think of us up front because they've got several other people in their ear telling them that they're interested. So you have to make sure you let people know what your interest is and where you think your talents are and how you can contribute. And then, because as you know, Ken, there's a lot of work to go around. So we love to get more people involved. And if people can let us know what their interests are, what their talents are, then we can put them to work.
Oh boy, those words of wisdom ring so true. I think that the SSO can achieve so much. And frankly, the more people who contribute, the more that we can achieve. And there's more on the to-do list than we can possibly accomplish. And so having volunteers that are truly engaged and working hard for the organization really make a difference. And indeed, yeah, like you, when I was younger, there were people more senior who helped me along by finding ways that I could work in the SSO and contribute. And similarly, as president, I've looked for ways to engage some of our talented people and keep them helping the SSO. So great words of wisdom. Thank you. I do want to put this conversation in a little bit of context too, where we're recording this in April. This is going to be released on, I think, June 16th. And so we should say that yesterday, June 15th, the window opened for nominations for our open elected positions. All right, Dr. Hunt, thank you so very much for spending some time with us, telling us about the nominating committee.
Thank you.